I'm Tracy Bingaman. I'm a full-time working mom of 5 who got sick, burned out, quit my job, and now I teach women how to mom smarter, not harder. The pressures of modern motherhood are intense. You're a busy working mom juggling all the balls and living in fear of dropping the exact wrong one. Here you'll find the tools you've been searching for to confidently prioritize your life and optimize your ability to rock all the hats that you choose to wear. I'll show you how to break through your limiting beliefs so you'll have more time and more money than you know what to do with. Because even in the busiest seasons of life, you can grow to master your money, own your time, and be the mom with all the margin. This is Fulfilled as a Mom. Wealth building is a marathon and not a sprint. I want to equip you with all the tools and knowledge that you need to go about the business of creating a life of financial freedom so that you can, without hesitation or reservation, make the decision to do what is best for you and your family in the future. When we start to unpack wealth, there can be a lot of mindset blocks, limiting beliefs, and negativity that crops up in your mind. You know, that nagging mean girl in the back of your head telling you that all those who are wealthy in this world were born with money. They had some sort of crazy fluke of luck that would never happen to you. Or maybe they are crooked, dishonest thieves who live in a place of greed, wanting more and more and more. If you have those limiting beliefs and mindset blocks around money and creating wealth in your life, these accounts that I'm going to share with you today in order to shelter it from taxes and make it to grow over time to be able to harness compound interest, they won't help you that much. I'm sharing these different types of accounts that you need to open, that it's important for you to understand, and that you should be consistently funding so that you can invest wisely for the future and take advantage of the magic of compound interest to get your money to grow and work for you. But first things first. Take a moment to think about what mindset blocks you have in your mind around finances and building wealth. Unpack the reasons that you think those things and start to try to address them, because addressing those limited beliefs and mindset blocks is a key part of this equation to building wealth over time. So without further ado, I'm going to share with you the top 5 types of accounts that you need to have and understand and fund in order to build wealth. Are you a Fulfilled as a Mom subscriber? If so, I've got a little gift for you. If you just signed up, you did one of the easiest but most important things that you can to support this show, and I want to say thank you for being here. This podcast is like a 6th child to me, so having you tune in each week is truly the best gift you can give me. You help the show big time by clicking that subscribe button, and I am so excited to help you in return. I put together this quick and dirty guide for you because if you're anything like me, your calendar is chock full. I'm sharing my top 4 ways to reclaim your calendar and your life as a busy working mom. It's got 4 action items that you can take today to start being back in the driver's seat of your schedule and wisely using that most limited, coveted resource of your time. To get your guide to reclaim your calendar, simply click subscribe if you haven't already. Send a screenshot of your subscribe page to info@tracybingaman.com, and we will send you this free goodie created with you in mind. If subscribing to Fulfilled as a Mom is the cake that you want to have and eat it too, then leaving a 5-star written review is the fluffy, sweet buttercream icing on top. Those reviews are life-giving to a show like mine. And if you've already written one, give yourself a big old pat on the back. If not, take 2 minutes, pop on over to iTunes or wherever you listen to the show and leave a rave review. Share your feedback and what you've learned and why you love the show so that other listeners just like you can find me and learn too. The first is a 401k or 403b at work. So this is an employer fostered account. So your job provides one of these. It is tax sheltered. And in that way, the 401k or the 403b, they exist like a suit of armor that keeps your money safe from the financial dragon, which is taxes. So money invested into your work 401k isn't taxed, which reduces your taxable income and can decrease your tax bracket. So let's talk about making sure that you are putting enough into your 401k to get your employer match. At a minimum, funding into your 401k so you can take advantage of your employer's match is so important. So think about it. Matching dollar for dollar. So a lot of employers will match dollar for dollar with a certain percentage of your income. For every dollar that you put into that 401k or 403b, your employer is matching that dollar. That means that immediately you're going to double your investment. $1 becomes $2, $100 becomes $200, $1,000 becomes $2,000. It's like magic. So with that $1 that you're investing in your 401k, you're doubling its earning potential by taking advantage of your employer provided match. I don't know of anywhere else where you can get an immediate 100% return on investment simply by putting the dollars in. So that is essentially free money, and it is a huge benefit. So you need to understand what your employer matches up to and make sure that you are putting that much into retirement. Now, a good rule of thumb for how much you should be funding into your 401k is to fund about 15% of your income. That is a general rule of thumb and doesn't take into account whether you're working on debt reduction or savings outside of retirement, but it's a good kind of goal to have in the back of your mind. The second type of account that I want you to be aware of and consider opening in order to build wealth in your life is called an IRA. IRA stands for Individual Retirement Account, which essentially means that it isn't necessarily provided by work or from your employer. You don't need an employer-fostered plan to contribute to an IRA. So there's two types of IRAs, traditional or regular, and a Roth IRA. And the difference between traditional and Roth IRA comes down to taxes and where taxes are assessed in the process. For traditional IRAs, your contributions and earnings on the account are tax deferred, which may sound tempting, but what it really means is that you aren't paying taxes on that money yet. You will pay taxes on the money when you withdraw from the account, something called distributions. So for a traditional IRA, your contributions and earnings are tax deferred. And then when you distribute or take that money home from the IRA, you pay taxes on that money at the time. So traditional IRAs might be great for someone who has a higher tax bracket now, but is expecting to be in a much lower tax bracket eventually. But even more beneficial is a Roth IRA. So Roth IRAs are taxed on contribution, which means you pay taxes on the money that you put into the Roth IRA now, and then it grows quote unquote tax-free because you did pay taxes on it initially, but growth and distribution of a Roth IRA are not taxed. So that money goes in and it grows and it grows and it grows, and the compound interest makes more interest and your interest earns more interest. And all of that growth, when you withdraw it or distribute it back to you from the Roth IRA, it's not taxed. Now, there's something else that you can do. It's called a backdoor Roth IRA. So contributing to a Roth IRA has a set income limit. If you're above that income limit, you can't directly contribute to a Roth IRA. But what you can do is open a traditional IRA, fund it, and then roll that money over into a Roth IRA. At the time of this recording, you're able to do that $6,000 a year. It's commonly called a backdoor Roth. And if it's something that you're interested in doing, sit down with your financial advisor and talk to them about the logistics of doing that. I am not a tax professional. I am not a certified financial planner. I am simply someone who is giving you my advice on how to strategically build wealth over time. And that Roth IRA is a way to do it in addition to what you can do at work in your 401k or 403b. The third type of account to have in mind and to see if it's available from your employer or if you can open one outside of your employer is an HSA or a health savings account. So an HSA is an account that is designated for health-related expenses. The perk: contributions, earnings, and distributions in your HSA are not taxed. Yes, you heard that right. All things HSA are tax-free. Now, you may be sensing a pattern here about tax sheltered investments. So, we talked earlier about the 401k being this vessel, this suit of armor that keeps your money safe from the fire breathing dragon that is taxes. So, doing things, legal things that can decrease your tax burden now and make it so when you withdraw your investments down the road, you have a decreased tax burden are wise. So here's how an HSA works. You can set up an automatic contribution to your HSA by having it auto drafted from each paycheck. Typically, this happens around the season of open enrollment when you're electing your healthcare benefits, setting your 401k contributions for the following year. You can elect into a health savings account and start to automatically fund it paycheck by paycheck. At the time of this recording, the limits for HSA contributions are $3,650 for an individual and $7,300 for families. HSAs often work in tandem with a higher deductible health plan. So if you have a health plan with a higher deductible, look and see if your company offers a health savings account that you can begin contributing to. So you can actually use this HSA as an investment vehicle. So if you need that money for health expenses, by all means, use it. But if you have enough money in your budget of taxable income, of money that you brought home or your quote unquote take home pay, if you and your budget can cover those medical health, mental health, dental expenses, then you can continue to fund your HSA year after year and put it in an actual investment. So again, the HSA is the vessel that keeps this investment safe from taxes. In case you didn't realize, taxes are the enemy of wealth building. And I do not in any way recommend you not pay your taxes. But if there are vessels, which there are several, designed to help you build wealth and invest without having to pay taxes, then all the more power to you taking advantage of these vessels. Remember that one time that I burned out, like all the way out? Like toast that you popped into the toaster, not realizing the knob was set to darkest and walked away from level of burned out? I was burnt to a crisp. In that season, I was forced to choose between my health, my marriage, and my ability to be a good mom, and my job. So I quit that job. I chose me. And the reason that I was able to quit was because we had become debt-free and created financial margin in our lives before that season of burnout came along. I want the same to be true for you in the future, which means starting on your journey to financial independence now. I put together the 5 keys that you need to know in order to create a life of financial independence, and I'm giving them away for free. Download your guide at tracybingaman.com/money or click the link in the show notes. Number 4 on my list of accounts that you need in order to build wealth is a high yield savings account. So if you are saving for short-term goals, or you have your emergency fund, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and you want it in savings, not in a volatile investment, not in a stock market, not in something that might go up and down to the point where when you want to have it, it might not be at the value that you want it to be. A savings account is a great place to put it. However, traditional savings accounts don't pay very well. So the average for standard savings account is 0.17%. That's the amount of interest that you're earning if you're keeping your emergency fund or short-term savings in a non-high yield savings account. So Ally is the online bank where Dan and I keep our emergency fund and other money that we have saved for short-term money goals. At the time of this recording, the interest rate we're earning on that is 2%. So average in your kind of typical bank or not a high yield savings account is 0.17%. And the interest rate for a high yield savings account right now is sitting at about 2%. Let's just for fun do a little math to see what the difference is in keeping your emergency fund in a high yield savings account versus a regular savings account. Let's say you have a $20,000 emergency fund invested at 0.1% in a savings account at your local bank. you would earn a grand total of $34 a year in interest. If you had that same $20,000 emergency fund invested in a high yield savings account, you'd be earning $400 in interest if it's paying a 2% interest rate. That's a $366 per year difference, which doesn't sound massive, but it's not nothing. And we personally, with that growth, quote unquote, or the interest that that emergency fund is earning, we leave it alone. So expenses go up over time. Inflation is something that's been so in the news, everyone talking about lately, that if you reinvest, or rather don't pull that money out of the high yield savings account, it can go up significantly over time. So if you leave that $20,000 in a high yield savings account over the course of 20 years, earning just 2% a year, it becomes almost $30,000. Whereas the money in a regular savings account, yielding only 0.17%, would grow to just under $20,700. So that's a massive difference. That's a $9,300 difference. Make no mistake. The purpose of having some short-term savings or your emergency fund in a high-yield savings account is not a great thing to do with large sums of money that you want to leave invested for a long period of time. The goal of a high-yield savings account is not to be the primary driver of building wealth in your life. However, it is a way to take advantage of money that you have in savings that you want to be available to you, like an emergency fund, and accessible in case of emergency, in case of one of those OMG moments where you really need some money now because something very unexpected happened. So we also use it for short-term savings. So think of things that you're going to save up and buy in the next 2 to 5 years, maybe your next vehicle or your next couch purchase, that you're going to want to be able to access that money, but you want the money to be doing something in the meantime until you're ready for it. A high-yield savings account is a great place to keep that money. The fifth and final thing that I want to talk about today when talking about different types of accounts that you need in order to be actively building wealth is your emergency fund. So here's the thing about the emergency fund, or as I like to call it, an OMG fund. It's not designed to make you a ton of money. It's designed to keep your other investments safe from emergencies rather. The reason to have an emergency fund is so that when something unexpected happens, you don't have to do things like borrow on credit cards or withdraw from your 401k and take a big penalty there to cover said emergency. So yes, you should absolutely have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of your household expenses. Now you might be wondering, how do you decide if it's 3 or 6 months? So the questions that I would ask in that situation is, how stable is your income? Do you have one income earner in your household or two? Do you have more than 2 streams of income from investments or other income that is coming into your household? How high are your expenses as compared to your income? And last and probably most importantly, how does the sound of having 3 months of expenses saved versus having 6 months of expenses saved? How does that feel to you and to your partner if you're married or walking through this life in partnership? Only you can decide what is best for your level of comfort and given the situation with your family. OMG funds are designed to help you sleep at night and offer a layer of protection between you, your investments, and anything that might crop up along the way to threaten those investments. In that way, emergency funds are more like insulation or insurance than they are a true investment. We talked earlier about putting that fund in a high yield savings account, but just remember, the emergency fund is not there to make you money. It's there to protect your wealth building investments and to protect you from stopping your contribution to those other investments or pulling that money out prematurely in case of emergency. Now you may be thinking, well, I hope that no emergencies come up, and to just assume that there's going to be emergencies in life is kind of negative. But the one thing that is for sure in life is that it is unpredictable and emergencies do happen. So if you're going to be positive that unexpected things do crop up, and having cash in emergencies is a really great place to be. whether it's from a peace of mind standpoint or a freedom standpoint, that you want to be able to have that money to take care of whatever needs arise during an emergency, you will sleep better at night knowing that is there. Now that we've talked about wealth building and these 5 key accounts that you're going to want to have as you're building wealth. So just to review, a 401k or 403b that your employer is fostering and making sure you're taking advantage of that match. An individual retirement account, whether it is Roth or traditional, and the funding of that IRA. An HSA or health savings account that you are contributing to regularly. You can cover your medical expenses out of this, or you can use that as an investment vehicle that is tax sheltered. A high yield savings account for your emergency fund or other short-term savings to live and earn a little bit of money in the meantime. And an emergency fund to act as insulation between you and your money on one side and the world and all of the potential consequences, emergencies, and things that can crop up in the world. I want to take a moment to look at and unpack being rich and having a rich and full and fulfilled life versus being wealthy. So in this episode, I'm talking all about building wealth and using vessels and understanding the vessels. And this is really like a high level overview of that. But knowing that these vessels exist, looking for the opportunity to take advantage of them and to write this savings and investing into your budget and to do it automatically and routinely month after month after month. And the thing that happens is when you do that, your money makes money. So the initial money that you put in earns interest. And then your interest is reinvested and it earns interest. So the dollars that are really working the hardest are the dollars that you put in first, because they have the longest potential to earn money. And then for that money to earn money, and for that money to earn money. And it's like a snowball, it just rolls over and it gains momentum and it gains momentum and it grows and grows and grows and grows over time. So really consistent investing, making sure you understand what your investments are invested in, and it growing over time are the things that build wealth after months, years, decades of being diligent about wisely investing into the future to build wealth. But I want to talk about how that's different than living a rich life. When you look up the definition of rich in the dictionary, the first definition that pops up is the one that you would kind of expect. Having a great deal of assets or money, also known as wealth. But the second definition that pops up when you Google rich definition is plentiful and abundant. I'm here to remind you that you can lead a rich, full life that includes fulfillment and joy and happiness and time spent doing what you value with those people who you love the most in this world, regardless of how much money you have in the bank. And that being rich is sometimes about the way that you see your surroundings, looking around and seeking out beauty, being conscious about opportunities to embrace gratitude and to share that gratitude with those around you, and living in the moment while learning to embrace the journey are all really important to that most rich life that you're craving. And on this quest to building wealth, on this journey to financial freedom, know that freedom is the goal. So freedom from being dependent on a paycheck, freedom from being dependent on someone else's schedule, freedom from feeling like you have to keep showing up at a job that is making you sick or exhausted or no longer aligns with your values. That is the freedom that you are headed towards when you start working to build wealth and intentionally, month by month, year after year, decade after decade, you're diligently investing in the future. And the future version of you will thank the past you for being so diligent and for utilizing these tax-sheltered accounts to build wealth. Thank you so much for joining me on Fulfilled as a Mom. I'll see you next time. I'm doing a victory dance right now because you did it. You took the time to tune in, to reach for a better life, and to take care of you. Did our time together go by way too fast for anyone else? Head to fulfilledasamom.com for show notes and all the discount codes from today's show. You now have the tools and knowledge to change your life. Go blaze your trail, take that step, make the shift, and do the work to create fulfillment in your life today.